Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into Shopify Inc., ticker symbol SHOP.
That's right. We've got some really interesting material here. There's a detailed research report. Looks like it's from mid-March 2025.
Yeah, March 17th. And we also have their Q4 2024 earnings call transcript from back in February.
February 11th, yeah. So
Yeah.
pretty recent stuff to dig into.
Absolutely. So the plan today is to really, unpack Shopify, look at their business, how they compete, where they're trying to grow.
What the risks might be and how they've actually been doing lately based on these reports.
Exactly. Okay, let's get started. So Shopify.
Yeah.
What's the core business? What are they actually providing?
Well, fundamentally, Shopify provides this e-commerce platform. It's a whole set of tools and services.
Okay.
And it's aimed at helping merchants, really of all sizes, from the small startup, the SMBs,
Right.
all the way up to bigger companies, the enterprises using Shopify Plus. It helps them start, manage, and grow their business.
Online and offline.
Online, offline, direct to consumer, pretty much anywhere they want to sell. It's quite comprehensive.
So definitely more than just a simple website builder then. How do they break down their business? Like the different lines?
Yeah, they generally talk about two main categories. The first is what they call subscription solutions.
Okay, subscription solutions. That sounds like fees.
Exactly. It's the access fee, basically,
Right.
paying for using the platform itself. This covers their different plans, basic, Shopify, advanced,
Yeah.
the higher tier Shopify Plus for enterprises, and also things like revenue from apps in their app store or selling domain names. It's the foundation.
Got it. The price of entry, essentially. What's the second category?
The second one, and this is a really big growth driver for them, is merchant solutions.
Merchant solutions. So this is more about actually running the business day to day.
Precisely. It's all the services that help merchants operate and, importantly, scale their operations.
Like what specifically?
Well, the huge one is payment processing through Shopify Payments and their Shop Pay checkout option.
All right, I see Shop Pay everywhere now.
You do. And the numbers are pretty staggering. In Q4 2024 alone, Shopify Payments processed $60.8 billion in gross merchandise volume, GMV.
$60.8 billion
Yeah.
in one quarter.
Yep. And that was 64%, almost two-thirds of all the sales happening on their platform. GMV, just to clarify, is the total value of goods sold by their merchants.
Wow, that really puts their payment volume into perspective. What else falls under merchant solutions?
There's quite a bit more. Shipping services, Shopify Shipping. They offer financing options through Shopify Capital.
Interesting. Like small business loans.
Kind of, yeah. Tailored for their merchants. Then there's help with tax and compliance, Shopify Tax. They've built out capabilities for B2B, like wholesale selling.
Okay.
And of course, their point-of-sale system, the POS, for merchants with physical retail stores. Their cumulative offline GMV just passed $100 billion, by the way.
That's a lot of offline sales too, so they're really trying to cover the whole spectrum. What about selling internationally? Is that a focus?
Definitely. Internationalization is a key area. They've been adding features to make cross-border commerce easier.
Such as?
Things like handling multiple currencies smoothly, dealing with complex international tax rules, integrating with local payment methods popular in specific countries, like Klarna, for instance.
Right. Buy now, pay later is huge in some markets.
Exactly. And they also have global logistics partnerships, like with UPS, to help with shipping internationally. And it seems to be working. Their international GMV grew 33% year over year in Q4.
33% growth internationally. That's strong. Now, you mentioned Shop Pay. There's also the Shop app, right?
Yeah.
How does that fit in?
Good question. That's part of what they call their buyer-facing ecosystem. It's about connecting merchants more directly with buyers.
Okay.
The Shop app is a big piece of this. It helps consumers discover products from Shopify merchants, gives them personalized recommendations, and lets them track all their orders in one place.
So it's trying to create a bit of a shopping destination itself.
Kind of, yeah. And it leverages their network. Then you also have Shop Pay installments, their own buy now, pay later solution built into Shop Pay.
And is this buyer side gaining traction?
It looks like it. The report mentioned over 875 million consumers bought something from a Shopify merchant online in 2024.
875 million. That's huge reach.
It is. And Shop Pay itself is handling more volume. It accounted for 38% of their gross payment volume, which is up from 33% the year before. It processed $27 billion in GMV in Q4 alone, up 50% year over year. And the Shop app native GMV, sales initiated within the app, was up 84% year over year.
So that ecosystem seems to be building momentum. What about developers and partners? I hear that's a big part of Shopify too.
Absolutely critical. Their partner ecosystem and developer platforms are a major strength. They provide the tools and APIs for developers and agencies to build apps and themes.
So extending the platform's functionality.
Exactly. The Shopify App Store had, I think, over 16,000 apps by 2024. Shopify actually paid out over $1 billion to these partners just in the past year for the apps they sold.
$1 billion to partners. Wow. That really fosters loyalty, I bet.
It creates a really powerful network effect, right? More apps attract more merchants attract more developers. It's a virtuous cycle.
Makes sense. And the last piece I saw mentioned was AI. How's that playing out?
Yeah, they're leaning into AI-powered tools, trying to embed AI to help merchants be more productive.
Like how?
They have things like Sidekick, which is pitched as an AI virtual assistant for merchants, and Shopify Magic helps with creative tasks like writing product descriptions or email subject lines.
Okay, practical stuff.
Yeah, and using AI behind the scenes, too, for better customer communication tools, data analysis, that sort of thing. Trying to make running a business easier.
Okay, so that's a really broad overview of the business. Subscription, merchant solutions, international, the buyer side, partners, and AI. Now, who are they up against? It must be a tough market.
Oh, definitely. The competitive landscape is crowded. The research report breaks it down pretty well. You've got players like BigCommerce.
Right. How do they compare?
Generally, Shopify is seen as having a wider range of those merchant solutions we talked about and just a much larger ecosystem of apps and partners. BigCommerce often competes on features for slightly more complex stores, maybe headless commerce.
Okay. What about the really big enterprise players, like Salesforce or Adobe?
Yeah, Salesforce Commerce Cloud and Adobe Commerce, which used to be Magento, they're major competitors in the enterprise space. Their strength is often deep integration with other enterprise systems like CRMs and ERPs.
So for huge corporations with complex needs.
Exactly. But Shopify Plus is increasingly competing there. Shopify often argues it's faster to implement and potentially has a lower total cost of ownership, especially for brands that want to scale quickly or need more agility.
That makes sense. What about lower cost or open source options? I hear about WooCommerce a lot.
Right, WooCommerce is a big one, especially because it runs on WordPress. It's very flexible, being open source. But Shopify usually positions itself as more comprehensive, out of the box, easier to manage, and generally more scalable as a business grows without needing as much technical heavy lifting.
Okay. And then there are platforms like Wix and Squarespace.
Yeah, they started more as general website builders but have added e-commerce features. They're often strong for simpler stores, sole proprietors, or businesses where the website is primary and e-commerce is secondary. Shopify really excels when the core focus is commerce, especially with scalability and the breadth of merchant-specific tools.
And the elephant in the room, Amazon.
Always Amazon. It's a different model, really. Shopify empowers merchants to build their own brand, own their customer relationships, control the experience.
Right. Independence is a big selling point for Shopify.
Totally. Amazon is a marketplace. It gives you access to a massive audience, but you're playing in their sandbox, less brand control, more fees, and you're competing directly alongside everyone else. Amazon's logistics network, though, is obviously a huge advantage they have.
So it sounds like Shopify has managed to carve out a pretty distinct and strong position despite all these competitors.
Yeah.
What are their main competitive advantages? Why do merchants choose them and stick with them?
The research points to a few key things. First, switching costs. Once a merchant is set up using Shopify payments, shipping, maybe capital, integrated with apps, moving is a huge hassle. It's sticky.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Replatforming is painful.
Very. Then there's the network effect. We talked about the huge ecosystem of apps and developers makes the platform more valuable for everyone. That's hard to replicate. They also benefit from economies of scale. Being so large allows them to invest heavily in R&D, innovate faster, and offer competitive pricing on things like payment processing.
Right.
Their diversified revenue streams, subscriptions, plus merchant solutions also provide resilience. And they just keep innovating AI, B2B, offline, the shop ecosystem. Plus, their global reach is a significant asset.
Okay, those sound like strong moats. But what about the challenges? What keeps them up at night?
Well, there are definitely challenges. Their large base of SMBs means they're somewhat tied to the health of small businesses, which can be volatile and have higher churn rates.
Right, small businesses fail more often.
Exactly. In the enterprise market, as we said, competition from Salesforce and Adobe is intense, and those guys have deep pockets and long relationships.
Tough nut to crack.
For sure. There's always competitive pricing pressure, especially from lower cost options that might be good enough for some merchants. And the whole e-commerce market keeps changing rapidly. Consumer expectations, technology, regulations, they have to stay ahead of the curve.
So given those advantages and challenges,
Yeah.
how are they planning to keep growing? What's the strategy?
It's really a multi-pronged approach. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They want to keep growing with both SMBs and push further into the enterprise space with Shopify Plus and commerce components.
Okay, covering both ends.
Yep. International expansion is huge, especially focusing on Europe and Japan as priorities. We saw that 33% international growth. They're also focused on getting more merchants to use their merchant solutions, getting that Shopify payments attach rate up from 64%, even higher, for example. More shipping, more capital usage.
Driving more revenue from existing customers.
Exactly. Then there's growing that buyer-facing ecosystem, getting more people using the Shop app, more transactions through Shop Pay. The Shop app GMV growth, up 6x in 2 years, according to the call, shows the potential there.
6 times, wow.
Yeah. And underpinning it all is continuous product and tech innovation, with AI being a major theme now, plus pushing omnichannel, integrating online and offline seamlessly with their POS system, and growing their B2B offering, which saw huge growth too. B2B GMV was up 132% year over year in Q4.
That's a lot of different levers they're pulling. How does that compare to what competitors are doing, briefly?
Well, like we touched on, BigCommerce is pushing headless. Salesforce and Adobe are doubling down on enterprise integration. WooCommerce relies on its open source community. Wix and Squarespace are mainly focused on the smaller end, easier site building. Amazon is, well, Amazon marketplace dominance.
So Shopify's strategy seems much more diversified, trying to be the platform for all commerce.
That seems to be the ambition, yeah. And that diversification offers potential for really strong, resilient revenue and profit growth. Their investments in AI and their strong brand recognition should help.
But it also sounds complex to manage. What are the risks involved in executing such a broad strategy?
That's the key question, execution risk. There are definitely hurdles. That SMB dependency and the churn associated with it remains a factor they need to manage.
Right.
Successfully winning more enterprise deals against entrenched players like Salesforce and Adobe is a big challenge. Requires different sales motions, different support levels. International expansion isn't easy either. You need localization, understanding different regulations, cultural nuances, payment preferences.
Lots of local complexities.
For sure. There's also the risk of competitive pressures intensifying in merchant solutions. Payments and shipping are competitive fields. They need to keep delivering on technology and innovation and, importantly, figure out how to effectively monetize things like their AI investments.
It's not enough to build cool tech. It needs to drive the bottom line.
Exactly. And finally, there's the balancing act of managing profitability while still investing heavily in all these growth areas. They showed great progress on profit in 2024, but they need to maintain that discipline.
How do these risks compare to competitors? Does everyone face similar execution challenges?
To some extent, yes, but they manifest differently. Like maybe BigCommerce or WooCommerce face bigger challenges scaling their tech for the largest merchants. Salesforce Adobe might struggle with agility or being cost-effective for smaller, faster-moving clients. Wix Squarespace might hit a ceiling on growth beyond SMBs, and Amazon faces constant regulatory heat and the massive costs of its fulfillment network.
So where does that leave Shopify on the risk spectrum?
The research suggests Shopify has, let's say, moderate to high execution risk, mainly because their strategy is just so broad and ambitious. They're trying to do a lot simultaneously.
But maybe mitigated somewhat by their platform.
Yeah, the strength of their core platform and their diverse solutions definitely help mitigate it. But yeah, executing across all those fronts, SMB, enterprise, international, POS, B2B, Shop app, AI, it's a tall order. It requires sharp focus and coordination.
Okay, let's shift gears to recent performance. How did things look in Q4 2024 based on that earnings scope?
Q4 was, frankly, very strong. It capped off a really good year for them, especially on the profitability side.
Where are the highlights?
Well, GMV grew 26% year over year. That's the total value of stuff sold. It was their highest growth rate since the pandemic boom times.
26% is impressive at their scale. And revenue.
Revenue was up even more, 31% year over year for the quarter, hitting $2.8 billion. For the full year 2024, revenue was $8.9 billion, up 26%.
Solid growth numbers. Any regional callouts?
Yeah, international revenue grew faster than North America, up 33%.
Yep.
And their offline revenue, driven by POS, was up 33% for the full year too, reaching almost $600 million.
Wow, offline really picking up steam. What about profitability? You mentioned that was a highlight.
Huge highlight. Their operating income for the full year surpassed $1 billion. That's 4 times higher than their previous peak. A major turnaround from the heavier investment periods.
$1 billion in operating income? That's significant. And cash flow.
Very strong. Free cash flow margin for the year was 18%, up nicely from 13% in 2023. And Q4 itself was even stronger at 22% margin, so generating a lot of cash now.
That definitely changes the narrative around profitability. Did you mention any big customer wins, especially on the enterprise side?
They did. They listed quite a few notable brands that came onto Shopify Plus or adopted more services, names like Reebok, Champion, Westwing, BarkBox, David's Bridal, Goop, Warner Music Group.
Big names. Any sports teams?
Yep. FC Barcelona, Real Madrid, the LA Lakers. Also retailers like Reitman's, Uncommon Goods, Dooney and Burke, Hunter Douglas, Karl Lagerfeld.
So clear momentum with larger brands.
Seems so. And they also highlighted brands adopting their modular commerce components, like ShopPay being used by ArcDeck, Boot Barn, Crocs, GameStop, and retailers like Aldo and Sperry going all in on their unified online-offline platform.
It sounds like that enterprise push and the component strategy are bearing fruit. What about new product stuff they rolled out?
Lots of activity there, too. They increased catalog size limits, improved customer accounts, launched Shopify Balance plus a business account, essentially.
Yeah.
Added flexible options to Shopify Credit, expanded Shopify Tax to the UK and EU, enhanced Shopify Inbox, their messaging tool, with AI features, rolled out Tap to Pay on iPhone more broadly, launched Shopify Bundles, customer meta fields for more customization, ship to store.
Wow, they were busy.
Yeah.
Anything on the POS side specifically?
Yeah, draft orders, better email capture at POS, expanded their POS terminal hardware availability, also integrated payments directly in France for POS.
And internationally.
New merchant-focused home feed in the Shop app. Shop campaigns for marketing available to all plans now. Added UPS as a carrier option, expanded multi-currency payouts. Launched Shopify plans in Japanese yen, a new theme for Japan. Integrated Klarna payments more broadly.
Okay, really pushing on localization.
Yeah, and more local shipping options in Europe and the UK. Plus some interesting integrations, Roblox Commerce, YouTube Shopping, a PayPal partnership, AI search with Perplexity, and a collaboration with Oracle targeting enterprise clients.
It's a whirlwind of updates. So looking ahead to 2025, what did they signal on the earnings call? What's the focus?
For 2025, the key themes seem to be simplification, making the platform even easier to use despite its power. Continued heavy investment in AI, particularly Sidekick, and making software more goal-oriented.
Okay.
Further expansion across merchant sizes and geographies, especially Europe and Japan, reinforcing their leadership in core online business building, driving more growth in POS, B2B, and the Shop app, and crucially, maintaining that strong free cash flow margin to fund future investments.
And the specific outlook for Q1.
For Q1 2025, they guided to revenue growth in the mid-20s% year over year, gross profit growth in the low 20s, operating expenses around 41-42% of revenue, and free cash flow margin in the mid-teens.
Mid-teens FCF margin, okay? Slightly lower than Q4, but still solid. Any mix shifts expected?
Yeah, they mentioned expecting merchant solutions to grow faster than subscription solutions through 2025. Part of that is lapping the subscription price changes they made, and also a temporary impact from moving new trials to a 3-month paid structure, which hit subscription growth numbers in the first half.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so wrapping things up, based on everything we've discussed from the reports and the call, what are the absolute key things to watch going forward?
There are quite a few, but maybe we can group them. First, the macro environment. Watch global e-commerce growth trends overall and how macro conditions and consumer spending hold up.
Okay, the big picture stuff.
Then, specific Shopify execution. How well do they retain SMB merchants and manage churn? How successful are they at penetrating the enterprise market against those tough competitors?
Yeah, the enterprise push is critical.
And how effectively does their international expansion progress, navigating all those local complexities? Can they keep scaling merchant solutions revenue profitably, payments, shipping, capital?
Right, making more money from each merchant.
Also, keep an eye on the competitive landscape, any major moves by BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Amazon, etc. And how quickly does the buyer-facing ecosystem, especially the Shop app, gain adoption and influence?
The Shop app seems like a big bet.
It does. Then there are risks and innovation. Any major regulatory or geopolitical issues affecting e-commerce or trade? How well do they actually implement and monetize AI? That's a big one.
Definitely.
And internally, How sensitive are they to FX rates, and how well do they execute localization? Do they maintain capital allocation discipline, balancing growth and profit? And how quickly does the broader market embrace omni-channel commerce, which plays to Shopify's strengths?
That covers a lot of ground.
Yep.
It really highlights how many moving parts there are to the Shopify story.
It really does. I think what stands out from this deep dive, especially looking at the recent results, is their ability lately to drive really strong growth while significantly improving profitability and cash flow. That's a powerful combination.
Yeah, that shift towards profitability alongside growth is probably the biggest takeaway from the last year or so.
Exactly. The traction they're getting with bigger brands, the growth in payments, and the Shop app. It paints a picture of a company executing well on multiple fronts.
But those execution risks remain, especially balancing SMB needs with enterprise ambitions and navigating the global stage.
Absolutely. And the AI integration, how much will that really move the needle for merchants and for Shopify's bottom line? That's still unfolding. It really leaves you wondering, can they sustain this momentum and successfully evolve from primarily an SMB platform to a true operating system for commerce everywhere for everyone without tripping up on the complexity?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
A great point to end on. This has been a fantastic deep dive. Thanks for walking through all that.
My pleasure. Lots to keep an eye on with Shopify. This content is produced by Compasscope.com. For more than 1,100 public listed companies, find detailed research reports, visual mind maps, earnings call analysis, and audio discussions on Compasscope.com.